Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's a pretty exciting one today. Find Your Next Game Show just concluded during Gamescom, and since it's done by my friends from GameStar and we're sharing it globally, I can say that we have some pretty exclusive announcements, gameplays, and new information that we got to present to everyone. We have in-engine footage from the Expanse Osiris Reborn, first gameplay from the new DLC to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We had the director of the Blood of Dawnwalker on stage in Cologne, and for some reason a bunch of dudes from New Zealand came on stage to talk about fishing. I don't really know what this one's all about.
Morning.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Now that we're here, we should totally just talk about Nice Day for Fishing, a brand new video game.
Fishing, yes, and we can talk about the free content update that's coming to Nice Day for Fishing as well.
That's exciting. I'm excited.
Do you want to tell them about it, Balin?
Morning. Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
So the thing that I'm most excited about with this new update is that you can now fish in the depths of the Azram Oceans and battle elite fish.
You can now also transmogrify your skins on Balin. So you can take the look of one skin and put it on the stats of another, so you can look however you want.
And the last thing is that there are now seasonal updates. There are going to be seasonal updates in Nice Day for Fishing. To Halloween, Christmas, more to come. It changes the look and feel of Azram, and you can also unlock exclusive items.
Now let me get you through the most interesting announcements from the FYNG Show. There are a bunch of them. Let's go. So let's start big. Yesterday during ONL, a short teaser of Legacy of the Forge was presented to give us a release date so that we can finally say that the second DLC to KCD2 is coming on the 9th of September. In this DLC, the main story revolves around the astronomical clock in Kuttenberg, but the most important part about it is that we get to restore our own forge in the city. What we got to show today is exclusive footage from the DLC and some more information. Within the building that you get, you will restore and decorate your house, your own chamber, and a garden. Obviously, it includes the forge as well. Renovations require money, but some things can only be unlocked once you get to a higher level of a new stat called Prestige, and you get that by doing DLC story missions and the new type of daily quests that may be connected to duels, dice, or, no surprise here, blacksmithing. Some things you buy are strictly decorative, others actually give you new perks, and it's important to mention that you will unlock the DLC as soon as you get to the second map of the game. The DLC will also be accompanied by a free patch that will add new things to photo mode, introduce adaptive HUD, and, for example, rebalance difficulty of lockpicking. More details on the patch will come closer to release date. There aren't that many games in the world of Star Trek, so it's always curious to see any experiments that might happen with the franchise. And that's where Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown comes in. It's based, of course, on the Voyager series with all its characters, but it's more of a what-if kind of story. A big gaming reference point for this one is FTL, because you will travel to various ends of the known universe, or maybe the unknown universe, upgrade your ship, and have some decisions to make. There's ship combat in the game, there's missions where you need to dispatch crew members to undertake certain tasks, you'll be developing your ship, and of course, resource management is important. You don't want to waste your resources and end up stranded in space, do you? Across the Unknown focuses on decisions which shape both the story and the characters. The crew members approve or disapprove of your decisions. There's even permadeath here. It is expected that a single complete run of the game should take around 15 hours, but it might take more with all the side content you'll see in the game. So, you think they'll boldly go where no one has gone before with this game? You had to see that one coming. If you're not afraid of being stranded on Mars like Matt Damon, or you're convinced that Doomslayer will not suddenly mistake you for a demon, then this one might make your day, because Surviving Mars is getting a remake of sorts. Originally, the game launched in 2018 for PC and consoles, and now it's coming again as Surviving Mars Relaunched for PC and consoles. The newer ones though. This relaunched version offers revised UI, improved graphics and lighting, it includes all the major and minor expansions from the main game, and that is important. There's also a new update called Martian Assembly that will add colony factions to the game and basically introduce politics into the game. Oh, and now also mods are integrated across all platforms. Really cool. Now I have a very unusual proposition here, and it's called Town to City. It's a beautiful building game done with voxels, and it combines city management simulation with proper coziness. You have to build an idyllic 19th century Mediterranean town and help it flourish into, you guessed it, A city. You're free to construct streets and squares, no grid necessary. Decorating is important because you can even decorate individual houses. Citizens living in your city require food, clothing, education, and if you get them that, they're happy and more people will move in. The further on you play, the more specific their needs become. There will be a campaign in the game with interconnected cities, but if you feel like letting your creativity run wild, there is a sandbox mode in the game with no budget restrictions involved. I think this one should be easier to survive than Mars. I definitely need to try it out, especially that the demo is already available on Steam. Huh, weird. I hear stomping and there's suddenly ripples in my glass of water. Huh. If you're waiting for Jurassic World Evolution 3, we actually had something exclusive to share. You know the general drill. You're in control of building and running your own Jurassic World, you synthesize, breed, and nurture prehistoric species, make them comfortable, but at the same time, it's an attraction for guests who need to spend money on your Jurassic World. The thing is, as always, disaster will strike at some point or another. The new thing that we got to show is an in-game marketplace where players can actually buy and sell dinosaurs to improve their parks. However, it's not only about having money to buy something new, it will be important to pay attention to the seller and their rating. You might get a good deal money-wise from someone, but you never know what you're gonna get. Sure, Dark Jurassic Anno 344 might sound like a reliable guy, but if you see a seller for Gallimimus with a rating of 43 out of 100 for a really low price, don't be surprised if you get a T-Rex instead who will destroy your park. Honestly, the deal was too good to be true. What did you expect? You'll be able to see through those dino scammers yourself when the game comes out on October 21st for PC and consoles. You might know Aerosoft for their simulation games of all sorts, but this is a new one and we actually got to announce it during the show. Global Rescue is a rescue simulation in which you manage the police, fire department, ambulances, and SWAT teams. The game is actually based on OpenStreetMaps, so you can put in any city in the world and then play in it. All the important buildings will be mapped correctly, so that's something like infection-free zone in that matter. The game also has proper European, American, and Asian vehicles for each of the forces. Gameplay-wise, you will be taking emergency calls and sending proper teams to the scene. Also, there will be side jobs like setting up speed traps, doing breathalyzer tests, and stuff like that. Do you remember the Emergency series? Yeah, this is definitely a throwback. Though I am now afraid for the safety of my hometown if I am to be responsible for taking care of it. Huh. Do you remember that one mission in GTA 5 where you had to go work in the docks and you controlled the crane moving all the stuff around? Now there is a whole game about this. It's not made by Rockstar, it doesn't include having Trevor around, but you actually play as Tommy who helps his father in Port Wake with his freight company. You observe a lot of the action from the first person. It's a much more simulatory game than what Rockstar offered. It's proper operating of heavy machinery, but it actually looks pretty cool if you're not afraid of heights. Apart from day-to-day normal jobs, you might sometimes have to salvage a damaged container of hazardous materials from the ship. Oh, and for the fans of the challenge, playing on expert difficulty means much more realistic physics that you need to take into account. So, anyone interested? I don't think I need to explain to anyone what Euro Truck Simulator is, because most of you probably played it, and if not, then you know well enough what kind of phenomenon it is. I literally saw an older guy playing this game in the mall on his laptop just recently. ETS2 is still in the top 50 Steam games in terms of active users, even though it's been 13 years since release. There's actually a new expansion coming to the game soon called Nordic Horizons, and we got to show a bit of gameplay from it. If you ever thought about moving cargo through Norway, Sweden, and Finland, then here's your chance. Although remember that tickets for speeding are pretty severe there, but just look at that landscape. Yeah, I think I need to play ETS2 again soon. Speaking of transporting stuff, here's another thing for you. Transport Fever is getting another entry into the series, and it really shows how far the genre of these kinds of games has come. In Transport Fever 3, you'll get over 200 vehicles, and there will be 32 industries to take care of, even stuff like oil rigs that you service with helicopters. The map has 4 different biomes, and generally we will see much more dynamic development in the game over time. For example, new needs appear when cities grow, and there will be proper visual feedback as to what needs your attention and where, for example by stacks of materials in front of the factories. Generally, models and buildings things got a lot of love here. With that constant development, you need to remember that some routes that were once profitable suddenly can become a huge loss if you don't react on time. And if you want to take a break from transporting goods, there's always passenger transport, with all the residents having their daily routines, going from apartments to workplaces, or simply shopping. So if you feel like transporting goods in a much more top-down view instead of a hands-on approach as with ETS, then Transport Fever 3 might be your game of choice. The time has come for some vampires. I'm sure you know the Blood of Dawnwalker made by Rebel Wolves that consists of a lot of devs that used to work on The Witcher 3. The game was announced last year, and recently we got an extensive look at the gameplay, both with Cohen as a human and as a vampire, depending on the time of day. Now during the FYNG Show we were joined on stage by the director for the Blood of Dawnwalker to chat about the game a little bit. However, the best thing I can do here is actually direct you to the saved livestream of the show. I'll make sure to put a link in the description with a proper timestamp once it's available. I just had to put this game here because the concept behind it all is really exciting, and I know there are lots of fans of The Witcher 3 out there who are interested in the new project from the people who worked on Geralt's adventures. Go and watch it. Have you heard of Ash and Steel? Well, if not, it's a good occasion to learn something about it, because we got a chance to present a new gameplay from the game. The game follows the story of an absolutely normal guy, no superhero. Since it's an RPG, a medieval one at that, you can expect dialogues with meaningful choices. There's actually different factions that you can pledge allegiance to. The game offers hunting, fishing, treasure hunting, crafting, blacksmithing, pickpocketing. Blacksmithing is actually kind of cool because you craft a weapon from a blueprint and then you can decorate it to be your own unique one. What I really like is that, sure, you can sleep in a camp, you can rent a room, but you can actually build a house and decorate it however you like. I gotta admit that animation-wise, the combat looks a tad clunky. In general, when I look at this game, it reminds me a bit of Gothic, but when I see on the game's Steam page that it's done by a team who values the essence of classic old-school RPGs, it starts to make sense. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can find Of Ash and Steel on Steam. There's no release date yet, but you can wishlist it to follow the updates on the game. All Warhammer fans also have a reason to celebrate, because we got to show a bit of Dark Heresy, a new game in the Warhammer 40k universe. The game is based on the tabletop RPG of the same name. You play as an Inquisitor, investigate heresy, command a warband, and generally protect the Imperium. While it's not really a sequel to the studio's Rogue Trader, this game took a lot of lessons from making that game, and now combat is greatly improved with better clarity and more options. This game also aims to improve the criticized class system of Rogue Trader to make it easier to understand. You will have companions that you can take along for the missions, maybe you'll even try to get on their good side, but also instead of the typical straightforward objectives, you get the clues system. So, as the name probably suggests, you only get clues and you have to deduce everything yourself. I think fans of Rogue Trader can really look forward to this one. This game is very unusual, but at the same time intriguing. Windstorm: The Legend of Khiimori is set in the 13th century Mongolia, and you play as a courier riding a horse. The game features an open world with various points of interest, and there's a fishing village as the main hub. Gameplay-wise, you select missions and then strategically plan safe routes for yourself. There's the element of inventory management with the saddlebags, but since you're a horse rider for whom the animals are the most important thing, there's a whole horse breeding mechanic. You will have to pair the best stock to breed increased capabilities of your animals across generations. You will train your horses as well, you will build a bond with them. Also, visually the game looks just really nice. It's going to be released in early access this year. Actually, I had no idea I'd be interested in something like this, but maybe I am. If you feel like playing Ark Survival Evolved got you bored already and you're looking for a survival game with dinosaurs, though this time in single player, then Ferocious might be up your alley. In this game you're stranded on a mysterious island full of dinosaurs and enemy mercenaries, and as expected, you fight for survival. You'll have to explore the dangerous environment, gather resources for crafting, and use wildlife to your advantage in battle, yes, dinosaurs included. For some reason, it also reminds me a bit of the first Far Cry, but that's just a connection in my brain. However, if you feel like checking it out for yourself, and for free, there's a demo available on Steam, so why not go and take a look? Now, this is a pretty cool game reveal that we got to do during the show. Daimon Blades somehow feels as if you mixed Doom with Diablo when it comes to the overall vibe of the world. Gameplay-wise, it definitely looks more like Warhammer Vermintide though. The cool trick here is that you fight in this game using the Daimon Blades. Yes, this is a title drop. And these are weapons that contain the soul of a demon who speaks to you, revives you if you die, but they can also corrupt you. And if you get fully corrupted, you really die and lose some of your equipment. So you gear up your character and then you launch an expedition, of which there are different types that can last anywhere from 10 to 60 minutes. Loot depends on the expedition type and the class of a portal you use, which basically means adjusting the difficulty of what you will encounter inside. There's a lot of gore in the combat, whether you do melee or ranged attacks, and your aim is to clear the areas of smaller enemies and then progress further. You will encounter obelisks at the end of zones that will give you special temporary skills for your weapon, but these last only for your current run. It looks like a pretty fun thing to play with your friends, all accompanied by a metal soundtrack, and if you're interested then you won't need to wait long because Daimon Blades is coming out on September 3rd on PC, but the console version will come later as well. World of Tanks Heat was announced just yesterday during Gamescom opening night live, but we actually got to show you a bit more of the game during FYNG Show. I think what's important to highlight here is how this game is different from the original World of Tanks. Well, first of all, this game is much more dynamic compared to the tactical combat you had in WOT. In Heat you get skills, a special arsenal that can actually sometimes modify the way you play with a certain tank. The tempo of combat is much different, also because of the game modes that are inspired by classic FPS games. So you get stuff like Conquest or Domination that I personally associate with games like Battlefield. There's going to be a much different progression system, there's different options of improving your tank. Also, it's important to note that while World of Tanks was heavily rooted in history, mostly World War I and II, Heat is using more modern vehicles and the Cold War era as an inspiration. Now, what is also important for having fun with your friends is that this is Wargaming's first game that will have crossplay and cross-progression between PCs and current-gen consoles. No confirmed release date yet. The world already talked about Anno 117 Pax Romana, but the only thing that we were actually able to play up until this point was Latium, the Roman province. This time, however, we got to show you Albion, the second area in the game in which you will govern as well. The land of Albion feels much less welcoming with its rugged cliffs, harsh weather, rain and fog. Of course, the local Celtic people are there and they try to find a way to somehow get along with the Romans. It will be up to you as a governor to decide whether to embrace Celtic traditions or make room for the Roman way of life. Gameplay-wise, Albion provides new resources for the production chains that you will be able to export back home, and 2 new gods join the pantheon as well. If you're looking forward to the game, then it's coming out on November 13th. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan, so when I saw the trailer for the Expanse Osiris Reborn, obviously I got really excited, especially that I love the Expanse show as well. So back then we got the trailer and no gameplay, but during the FYNG Show we were able to show you an actual in-engine look at locations from the game. In Osiris Reborn, your home base will be Pinkwater Station, although your central hub for interacting with companions will be the player ship. Throughout the game you will also visit Ganymede, Ceres, Eros, Luna and Mars. Gameplay-wise, you'll be able to select the origin of your character. You'll be either an Earther, a Martian, or a Belter. What's interesting is that in the game you will actually have a sibling that inherits some of your character features, visually, but you will be able to customize them as well. And that sounds a bit like Andromeda. I gotta say, the visual style of these locations looks really nice. Obviously it takes inspiration from the show, but it also gives it its own spin. I really hope that this game turns out to be as good as we expect it to be based on what we saw up until now. I can't wait to actually play it. So this was a more in-depth look at some of the games that we showed you during the FYNG Show, but there was even more than that. We had a new trailer for Bull X Pit, an exclusive look at Deadly Days Road Trip that keeps making me think of My Friend Pedro because of that banana costume. We had an additional look at Wonderberg, a game about castles on wheels fighting it out with each other. We showed gameplay from Vikings Dynasty, another game in the Dynasty series. There was Busbound with its gameplay premiere, a bus simulator with officially licensed buses, if that's your jam. We got to present one of the first levels from Don't Stop Girly Pop and reveal the release date for Rue Valley, that's November 11th. Fans of the Settlers got a good look at 2 similar games to the series with new gameplay from the first Explorers and a campaign trailer for Pioneers of Pagonia. We also had Couch Planes, which is a fun co-op dogfighting and racing game that you can play with people online or locally in split screen, coming in 2026. We had an additional look at Woodo, where you create wooden dioramas, pretty cool looking. Call to Arms Panzer Elite was there with exclusive gameplay. I'm pretty sure you know the series, but this one feels like a spin-off that's more action-focused. Echoes of Mora was there as well, in which you explore a sunken village, and that can be played both in VR mode or without VR. We showed a new trailer for Band of Crusaders, a medieval strategy RPG in which you're a grandmaster of a knightly order. And finally, we also had a world premiere of Crushed in Time that looks like a quirky adventure game that reminds me of the old LucasArts games. If you'd like to look at more than just the highlights of the show, in the description you can find a link to a whole livestream from our FYNG Show, though mind you, it was done in German, but that's where YouTube can help though. I hope you found something interesting here. After all, this place is all about finding your next game, right? That's our thing. Thank you for watching. Take care.